Namaskar and welcome back to Candid with Candidates, the show where we go beyond the research and dive into real stories behind PhD journeys. Today's guest is a true wildlife warrior whose journey spans continents and cultures. If you think wildlife research is all lab coats and microscope, think again. Brendah's world is about dusty trails, early morning boardwalks, and the thrill of discovery, all while juggling the ups and downs of PhD life.
Some hissing sound at the back, only to look back and realize that there was a spitting cobra in the toilet with me, and I got chased by an elephant.
Favorite Kenyan bird?
Vulturine guineafowl,
Favorite Aussie bird?
spotted parrot,
Dream bird watching spot?
Costa Rica and Papua New Guinea.
My name is Brendah Nyaguthii, and I'm a Kenyan wildlife ecologist with a background in wildlife management and conservation.
I was filmed as a wildlife warrior to showcase the work we do with the vulture and guineafowl. So I was really happy I'm out there and people know that I'm a wildlife warrior. But I believe that one day I'll start the project and I'll make my dream come true.
The focus of my PhD is to understand the movement and home range and social structure of the white-winged chafs.
Okay, Brendah, let's hike to Himalayas someday together.
Yes, Kathmandu, here I come.
Namaskar and welcome back to Candid with Candidates, the show where we go beyond the research and dive into real stories behind PhD journeys. Today's guest is a true wildlife warrior whose journey spans continents and cultures. Meet Brendah, born and raised in the heart of central Kenya, a bird-watching leader and enthusiast turned PhD candidate at ANU, who is now chasing the secret of bird behavior during some of the toughest environmental challenges. With a master's degree from Kenya and years managing groundbreaking field projects, Brendah has transformed her childhood passion for wildlife into cutting-edge avian research. From observing the elegant great white pelican of Africa, tracking the vulturine guineafowl in the semi-arid region of Kenya, to exploring Australia's diverse feather residents. Her story is inspiring and equally adventurous. Brendah has also been featured as a wildlife warrior documentary where she talks about her work on vulturine guineafowl. If you think wildlife research is all lab coats and microscope, think again. Brendah's world is about dusty trails, early morning boardwalks, and the thrill of discovery, all while juggling the ups and downs of PhD life. Ready to dive into a story where science meets heart and wilderness? Let's get started. So Brendah, welcome to the channel. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Divya. Thank you for having me. My name is Brendah Nyaguthii, and I'm a Kenyan wildlife ecologist with a background in wildlife management and conservation. I have a degree, a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in the same. For my undergraduate research, I worked on the nest site preference of the great white pelicans in Lake Elementaita, and after that, my bachelor's degree, I was an intern at the National Museums of Kenya, where I went through different departments, but mostly I was in the ornithology departments, and that's how my love for birds grew. Then after that, I went back to my university and I started my master's degree. As I did my master's degree, I was also a volunteer wildlife technician where I was helping and supporting undergraduate research with their projects and their lab practicals. After my coursework, I got a job as a field manager. And then I moved from my university and started the job in northeastern Kenya, where I worked as the field manager for the vulture and guineafowl project. So that's a little bit about me. Currently, I am a PhD candidate at the Australian National University, where I'm studying the social behavior of the white-winged chafs during the land breeding season.
Well, it's really nice to know more about you, Brendah. And now let's spill the tea on what was it like growing up in Kenya, a country that is known for its diverse wildlife.
I grew up in the highlands of Mount Kenya. Mount Kenya is the highest mountain in Kenya, standing at 5,199 meters above sea level. And we don't have like the big five in Mount Kenya, but we have these large animals like buffaloes and elephants. So I had the passion for wildlife since I was a young kid. So since my primary and high school, I joined the wildlife club, and that helped me like go out into the different places in Kenya where I was able to see the diverse species of wildlife, and that's how my interest grew in studying animals in the wild.
Wow, that's really interesting. But when exactly did the birds start stealing your heart?
Oh, interesting. Because I didn't know that there was a difference, like when people are studying wildlife, that there would be a difference like studying mammals, insects, birds, fish, and all that. So when I selected my wildlife management degree course, I chose to study wildlife. So the thought on my mind was like, I'm gonna be studying elephants, lions, buffaloes, until I got into my second year when we started to specialize into the different fields, where people would study botany, plants, that is, zoology, animals, that is. And then when I got into my third year, that's when it became more detailed, where people were studying mammalogy, entomology, ornithology. So my passion grew when I joined the wildlife club at the University of Eldoret and joined the different initiatives. There was the nature initiative where people could go out and learn more about the trees, and there was the birdwatching initiative where people would go out and learn more about the birds. So that's when my interest grew, and I started doing more research and understanding that people can actually study birds in their own unique way.
Wow. So you did your undergrad research on the nest site preference of great white pelicans. That sounds really very fascinating. So what made you choose pelicans and what did you discover?
The undergraduate research where I worked on the nest site preference of the great white pelicans. So I wanted a study that was unique from everyone in our class. So that is why I thought, let me do something about pelicans. I had not seen pelicans before, so in my mind was like, I really need to do a project about pelicans so that it can push me, so that I can go to where the pelicans breed and do this kind of research. So that is how I ended up in Lake Elementaita. So I went and studied where they prefer to nest, and it was a short research project, and I found out that they prefer to nest in the Rocky Islands. So it's different. It's further away from the mainland, and that protects them during the nesting period from the terrestrial predators.
Wow, that sounds really adventurous, Brenda. So for your masters, you focus on the cooperative breeding behavior and also worked your way up from lab technician to field manager. What was it like balancing those roles while managing a field project for 5 years?
For my job as a lab technician, I was actually volunteering to help with the lab practicals during my master's coursework so that I could keep myself busy. Mm-hmm. And then after that, when I finished my coursework, it's when I got my job as a field manager in northeastern Kenya. So I left my volunteer work and moved. We call them counties now in Kenya. Before I'd call them provinces. So I moved to the northeastern side of Kenya, where I started managing the work for the vulturine guineafowl project. So during the work that I was doing, I also started collecting data for my master's. So I'd call that two jobs because I'm working as a field manager and I'm also collecting my master's data. So because I love what I do, and I was also collecting the data for my master's, which I really love to do, it was like a combination of both work and passion. So it was quite rewarding because in the end, I got to finish my data collection, analyze my data, and write up my thesis. And I know for some cases it can be challenging because you are under time pressure, and also it can be emotionally and physically challenging. But for my part, I conquered that.
Great multitasker, I think. So, jumping continents and starting a PhD in Australia, that was huge. How different is Aussie wildlife compared to back home? Any birds here that blew your mind?
I'll talk about wildlife in general in Kenya and in Australia. Both have their own unique wildlife. Here in Australia, they are known for their unique marsupials, such as the kangaroos and koalas. While in Kenya, we have the big five. When you ask someone about Kenya, they always talk about the big five because we have these big five mammals. And then here in Australia, they have because Australia is isolated, they have like high endemism, meaning that the species that are found here in Australia are not found anywhere else in the world. And in Kenya, we have like a quite diverse of animal and wildlife species that are well known all across Africa, and they occur in many African countries. The most unique species here in Australia that I've come to learn. I've not seen it yet, but it's the kangaroo rat. It can spend its entire life without drinking water. So it consumes seeds, and these seeds, it's able to filter out the water from these seeds, and that's how it gets hydrated. Also, it's a nocturnal marsupial, so it's mostly active during the night, and in that way, it's also able to conserve water. And then the other thing about it, it produces concentrated urine so that it's able to conserve more water in its body. So I found that unique about this one Australian mammal. I would love to see it one day.
Wow, I think I also have heard about this mammal. I would also love to see it maybe. Yeah, during the high school general knowledge, I think I read it somewhere. So now you are studying bird behavior again, this time looking at how social dynamics change during harsh environmental period. Could you break down what you are investigating in a way everyone can understand?
I guess this is the part where I have to talk about my PhD. The focus of my PhD is to understand the movement and home range and social structure of the white-winged choughs. The white-winged choughs are cooperative breeders that are native to southeastern Australia. So in this study, I use Bluetooth low energy tags to capture where they go so that I'm able to understand if the species they use can lead to high levels of social association during the non-breeding period. And when I talk about during the non-breeding period here, I talk about the winter period, and that's the period we refer to as the harsh environmental period because there's less food as there's scarcity of resources. So the animals have to move really far to look for those resources. That's why we are tracking them so that we can be able to quantify their movement. And then the other thing I'm also working on for my PhD, I also want to test whether they express the deer enemy effect. And by the deer enemy effect, I mean when two groups live close to each other during the breeding season, there's no point in fighting because they are really familiar with each other. But if the groups live far away, they are unfamiliar with each other, I'll call them, in this case for the deer enemy effect, I'll call them strangers. So if they are strangers, they will end up fighting and engaging in aggressive interactions. So that is what I want to test for the white-winged choughs, because during winter, that is the non-breeding season, they overlap and associate with each other frequently. So I want to see whether the experiences and the overlap they had during the winter period will influence the dynamics that happen during the breeding season when they are stable and within their nesting home ranges. So that's a little bit about what I'm doing for my PhD.
So Brendah, you just mentioned that you are using the Bluetooth tag. How are they charged?
So the Bluetooth tags, it's a small device that we put a battery, the ones that look like coins. So we don't charge them with solar like the GPS tags that are charged with solar. The lithium batteries that look like a coin so that they are light for the birds to stay on the back, and that's how we are able to track them.
Okay, that sounds really interesting research. I can't wait to read your findings soon. Yeah. So, you also mentioned me some time ago that over the past 2 years, you have spotted over 200 bird species in Australia. What's one bird here that really surprised or captivated you?
Here in Australia, of all the 200 species that I've seen, the one that captivated me is known as the spotted padalot. So it's one of the smallest birds in Australia and has a length of around 8 to 10 centimeters. It's so tiny and it's so beautiful. You have to see it out there in the field. And the most interesting about the spotted padalot that captivated me was their nesting behavior. They tend to nest in hollow-like or tunnel-like structures along riverbanks and creeks. And they have also been known to nest in unusual places like gutters and pipes. But the most interesting nesting location that I found, this was sent to me by my friend who lives in South Canberra. She sent me a photo of 3 spotted padalot nestlings that were inside a skiing boot that was in the garage. So that is one interesting thing about the spotted padalot and these weird nesting locations that they have.
Brendah, I would love to see the picture of that bird. Yeah. Can you please share with me later? So
yeah,
maybe we can also include in the video so our audience can also see it. Yeah, that would be great. When you are not chasing birds or data, you are out there either running or hiking. How does this activity help you keep your brain and body sane during PhD chaos?
It's true that PhD can be chaotic. So I'll run or jog or hike to reduce stress and anxiety. But most of the time I do runnings and joggings in the mornings and evening, maybe 3 times a week, because when I run, I'm able to concentrate more because it reduces the brain fog. So I am strong and I'm able to focus more when I do running. And hiking, it's once in a while, because in hiking you have to go to hills or mountains to scale all the way up. And here in Australia, I think the most beautiful hiking place I've been to is Mount Kosciuszko. That's the highest mountain in Australia. That is 2,228 meters above sea level. It was in my bucket list before I leave Australia. I have to hike the highest mountain, and I did it this year, and it was such a nice moment, such a nice adventure, where we hiked up from the base all the way to the highest point, and I took a photo being one of the tallest people in Australia for a few seconds. So it was quite a thrilling experience. And I went during summer where it was so hot and there were so many flies. So if you look at you would have looked at my backpack back then. It was full of, it was like more than 200 flies that are hovering around me at the back of my backpack in the mountains. So I'll really say Mount Kosciuszko is one of the most thrilling hikes that I've ever been to here in Australia, and hoping to do much more.
Okay, Brendah, let's hike to Himalayas someday together.
Yes, Kathmandu, here I come.
Okay, Kathmandu is not the Himalaya anyway, it's the capital. Okay.
Oh, Mount Everest.
Yeah, okay. Not the Everest, but maybe we can go to some of the mountains around Pokhara. Okay, keep running and keep walking, Brendah.
Yes, that's the spirit.
Yeah. Okay, give us your funniest or most unexpected moment from a board walk or a hike. Did a bird ever prank you, or did you get lost? Spill it now.
Again, here I'll generalize it. Not talking about any bird, but wildlife in general. And here we go back to Kenya, not in Australia. As part of my wildlife degree, I had to do a survival course. So it's where they leave you in the bush alone. So it was me and I think we were 29 others. We were all dropped at random locations with water and a little bit of food. So you have to stay there for 2 days and 2 nights without shelter. You just have a sleeping bag, food and water, and 3 matchsticks. So you have to stay there, you have to light a fire to make sure that the wild animals don't come close to you. They fear fire, so they will not come close to fire. So the most important thing you have to do when they drop you is that you have to light a fire. That will keep away the wild animals from coming close to you. And then you have to build your own house. And then you have to sleep inside your own house. And then you have to dig your own toilet, because all this will account for the final mark you get for this course. So that was one of the scariest moments, because it was my first time sleeping outside. I've slept in tents before during camping, but now here you're outside, you just have a sleeping bag, you have to sleep on the ground, you have to build your own house, you don't know what will come from anywhere, because it was in Hell's Gate National Park. You can tell from the name, Hell's Gate National Park. Hell's Gate National Park. And the theme of the national park is a walk on the wild side. Yeah, so they drop you with no phone, you don't have a book to read, so it's just you and just you by yourself. Just think about your life and what you want to do with your life. So yeah, that was one of the scariest moments, but I came to love it in the end. It was quite entertaining to hear how the others had the experiences. There are people who are visited by baboons, there are people who saw buffaloes. They are not, sometimes buffaloes are dangerous. There are people who are visited by hyenas at night, and the hyenas are known for screaming and laughing at night. So I didn't have like any strange experience. The only animal I saw was a chameleon, I remember. Yeah, it was only a chameleon. And I could also hear some zebras galloping away from me.
Wow, Brendah, you survive a real life.
Yes,
man
I
versus
survived.
wild episode. I don't know which episode 100. Okay. Okay, that's really exciting and scary story, Brenda.
Yeah, it's scary because it was the first time I was doing that, but now I can do it over and over again because I got the skills and the experiences to do that.
Okay, even in Australia as well.
Yes, I can do that. Actually, here in Australia, it's safer because you don't have the large carnivores like we have back home in Kenya. The only thing I'll worry while doing that in
Snake.
Australia is snakes and spiders.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to be careful about that.
Right. Okay, Brenda, now let's make it more fun and go to our rapid fire round. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay, let's get started. So, what's your favorite bird ever?
It's known as the lilac-breasted roller,
Favorite Kenyan bird?
vulture and guineafowl,
Favorite Aussie bird?
spotted parrot,
Dream bird watching spot?
Costa Rica and Papua New Guinea,
One Aussie bird that you are desperate to see?
cassowary,
Best boarding spot you ever been to in Australia?
Brunei Island in Tasmania,
Best boarding spot you have ever been in Kenya?
Lake Nakuru National Park,
What's your go-to snack during long days in the field?
sandwich apples and nuts.
What's one thing everyone should know about bird behavior?
So this is an interesting one. For birds, people just see them walking randomly and flying randomly, but they are really smart and they have rules that govern the daily decisions they make. So I'll say observing them, we can really learn a lot from them.
Hiking or running, which one do you pick on a
Running.
tough day? Mountains or the beach?
Mountains.
Most memorable wildlife encounter?
My most memorable wildlife encounter was in Masai Mara, where the wild migration takes place. It's currently taking place now. Begins in June and ends in September, if I'm not wrong. So when I was doing my attachment in Masai Mara, I was just walking in the reserve with two rangers, and we saw two lions walking straight ahead of us, like 200 meters ahead of us, and I was like, why are the rangers not freaking out or something? And it was actually a lion and a lioness. That's a male and a female, and they were in this phase we call the honeymoon period. It's where the lion and the lioness, the male and the female, move away from the rest of the pride, and they go somewhere where they mate and can go days without having food. So encountering that with these two park rangers was one of the most memorable wildlife moments I had.
If it was not their honeymoon period, they would scare the hell out of you, right?
Yeah, I would have freaked out. I was like, what's happening?
Dream wildlife project to do someday?
So I'd really love to work in the Mount Kenya rainforest, to work on a species known as the heart-lab sirako. Not much has been done about it because it's so difficult to work in the forest. But I believe that one day I'll start the project and I'll make my dream come true.
Wow, wish you best with your dream project.
So much.
Yeah, so that comes to the end of our rapid fire round. Thank you for participating on it. And now let's add more questions. So what is your most memorable moment in your wildlife career?
My most memorable moment for this career that I am in, I'm still a wildlife biologist, ecologist, studying animal behavior, was in 2018 when I was filmed as a wildlife warrior. So even before that, I used to call myself like a wildlife warrioress. And it didn't come to mind that I'll ever be a wildlife warrior. So I was contacted by the CEO of Wildlife Direct in collaboration with my supervisor, and he's also my current PhD supervisor. And I was filmed as a wildlife warrior to showcase the work we do with the vulture and guineafowl. So I was really happy. I'm out there and people know that I'm a wildlife warrior.
Yeah, Brenda, I watched that video. It's so inspiring. I'll also keep the link of that video in the description so our audience can also watch it. Nice. Yeah. So throughout your journey as a wildlife warrior, do you have any terrifying wildlife moment?
I have many, many terrifying moments, but I'll mention 4 of them.
Wow.
The first one was in 2018 when I just started my job as a field manager. I was 1 month into the job, and you won't believe what happened to me. So I went to the toilet, and I was unwrapping a new tissue, and I heard some hissing sound at the back, only to look back and realize that there was a spitting cobra in the toilet with me. Good thing that I had not pulled my pants down. Otherwise, I don't know what would have happened on that day. So my instincts told me, just get out of the toilet and go call security and tell them what happened. So I went and rushed and called the security, and they came and removed the cobra from the toilet. So that's one of the most terrifying wildlife moments that I've had. The second one was I was still working as a field manager, and it was on a rainy day, and we were driving in the field, and the roads were a little bit slippery, so we ended up in a ditch, but we managed to get out of the ditch. And when we went back to park the car, we realized that there was a snake in the bonnet. So we were driving through the bush, and the snake, I don't know how the snake got into the bonnet, but I think it's because of the long grass and us driving through trying to avoid the muddy roads. And when we went to open the bonnet, we found this snake. Well, it was removed and taken back to the bush.
So scary stories, Brendah.
That was a scary one. And then the other one was about an elephant. I was by myself in the field driving, and I got chased by an elephant. So a journey that would have taken me 1 minute to get to my destination, I had to drive back, reverse and drive back through a loop that took me 10 minutes. So the thing is that this elephant, it was
African elephant?
It was an African elephant. It was a male elephant. It was on mast period when they have increased aggression levels and elevated levels of testosterone. So it was quite kind of aggressive, and it was solitary. So that's why it was didn't want anything around it. So that's why it started chasing the car. But I managed to escape. And then, and then the last one was I was out in the field at night, and I was working with one of the students that had come to collect data, and we were downloading the data. And as we were driving through the thickets and bushes, it's at night and you can see clearly, but the lights were on. And looking outside on my side, he looked outside and he was like, oh my God, there's a hippo next to the car, and was like, that hippo was really close to the car. So I was like, I freaked out, and I think my normal breathing rate my breathing rate came back to normal once we drove 1 kilometer away from the hippo. So it was scary because it was at night, and hippos are known to be the ones that cause most of the deaths in Africa. So you can imagine the situation that I was in.
Wow, Brendah, from your scary story, I can really tell you are a wildlife warrior.
Yes, I've conquered through it all.
Yeah. Oh my God, Brendah. I'm just freaking out listening to your stories, and I can imagine how you might have felt when you were experiencing it in the first place. All right, Brendah, for anyone watching you right now and who is thinking about diving into wildlife research or a PhD, what's the one real talk piece of advice you would drop?
The main one that I normally tell people is you have to be passionate about what you do. Be passionate, go work hard, and everything will fall into place. I really like the career that I am in now because I have the freedom to do what I do. I can be in the office working, reading, and in the afternoon I can be out in the field looking into nature and following my animals. So one piece of advice I'll give to people is that they should not be discouraged, and they should follow their passion, and their passion will lead them to their ultimate goal.
Thanks a million, Brendah. Your journey is such an inspiration. If any of you want to quiz Brendah about Kenyan wildlife, Aussie bird, or just share your own bird stories, drop your comments below or write to her in Facebook or Instagram. Don't forget to follow and stay tuned for more raw, unfiltered PhD life stories. Catch you next time, and thank you all for watching.
And blue sky!
Okay, oh sorry, Brendah also has a blue sky and Twitter, so follow her there too. I'll keep the link in the description section. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tibia, for having me.